Welcome to U.S. Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: Judge Chutkan imposes partial gag order on Trump, but silencing a defendant isn't a good thing. Justin Sue seizes lead heading into final day of Zozo Championship. New York visits Buffalo after Nelson's 2-goal game. The U.S. airports where non-travelers can hang out. Americans are worried about finances, helping Trump in key states. Judge Chutkan imposes partial gag order on Trump, but silencing a defendant isn't a good thing. Yahoo! U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan may have violated Donald Trump's right to defend himself with her partial gag order limiting what he can say about the criminal case against him, writes Chandra Bozelko in USA Today. While it is not unusual for defendants to express their disdain for prosecutors outside of court, Trump's comments are the only ones that are being restricted. The former president is facing charges in connection with a federal election conspiracy, but if he were to be compelled to speak, that would be a violation of his Fifth Amendment rights not to incriminate himself. When he wants to speak, however, he is being silenced. Chutkan's ruling could be challenged on appeal. Justin Sue seizes lead heading into final day of Zozo Championship. Japan Times. Justin Sue of the United States is leading the Zozo Championship, Japan's only PGA Tour event, by one shot going into the final day. Sue, a tour rookie, shot a 3 under 67 in the third round, bringing his total score to 9 under for the tournament. He is followed closely by Americans Eric Cole and Beau Hossler. Colin Morikawa, a two-time major champion, is in fourth place, 2 strokes behind the leader. New York visits Buffalo after Nelson's 2-goal game. Associated Press. The New York Islanders are set to face off against the Buffalo Sabres in an NHL game. The Islanders are coming off a 5-4 overtime loss to the New Jersey Devils, in which Brock Nelson scored 2 goals. The Sabres had a 42-33-7 record overall last season, while the Islanders went 42-31-9. Both teams have some players listed as day-to-day or out with injuries. The U.S. airports where non-travelers can hang out. CNN. Philadelphia International Airport, PHL, is reintroducing a scheme to allow non-travelers into the post-security areas of the airport. The Wingmate program is being adopted by 5 other U.S. airports, including Detroit, New Orleans, Seattle, and Tulsa. The move comes as Budapest is in the process of reinventing itself as a tourist destination, with many of its historical sites being revamped for public consumption. The largest Hindu temple in the U.S., BAPS Swaminarayan Akshardham, has also opened in Robbinsville, New Jersey. Americans are worried about finances, helping Trump in key states. Japan Times. American voters in swing states are experiencing the impact of rising prices for household essentials, according to a poll conducted by Bloomberg News and Morning Consult. The poll found that 3 out of 4 swing state respondents said that prices have increased in the past month, aligning with consumer price data that shows a 0.4% rise in inflation in September. The poll also revealed that voters trusted former President Donald Trump more than President Joe Biden in handling the cost of everyday goods and services, with a 12 percentage point difference. This could pose a challenge for Biden's efforts to make the economy a focal point of his re-election campaign. Losing my partner almost made me stop writing. The Guardian. Jesmyn Ward, the award-winning author of Salvage the Bones and Sing, Unburied, Sing, has released her latest novel, Let Us Descend. The book tells the story of Annis, a teenage girl who is transported from a plantation in the Carolinas to the slave markets of New Orleans. Ward was inspired to write the novel after learning about the history of slavery in New Orleans and the role the city played in America's domestic slave trade. She was shocked to discover that much of this history had been erased and wanted to shed light on the experiences of enslaved people. Ward faced many challenges in writing the novel, including how to write from the perspective of someone who had been robbed of physical agency. She also worried about how the book would be received, given the resistance to slave narratives in some parts of Black America. However, a conversation with writer Ta-Nehisi Coates reassured her that there were millions of different stories to tell about the experiences of enslaved people. While writing the novel, Ward experienced a personal tragedy when her partner died suddenly. She initially considered giving up writing but ultimately decided to continue as a way of honoring his memory. The novel explores themes of grief and loss, something Ward has had to grapple with in her own life. Ward also spoke about the challenges of living in Mississippi, where she grew up and currently resides. She expressed a desire to leave due to the hostile environment and the threat of violence. However, she is torn because she wants her children to experience the best of her own childhood, which involved spending summers in rural Mississippi. These questions of where to find happiness and be one's authentic self inform her work. EU and USA to explore use of Russian assets for Ukraine's benefit, US-EU summit joint statement. Yahoo! The leaders of the European Union and the United States have confirmed their readiness to explore ways to use Russia's sovereign assets to help Ukraine. They want to compensate Ukraine for the loss, injury, and damage resulting from Russia's aggression, in accordance with national and international law. The leaders also committed to working to address the energy, economic, and food security challenges caused by Russia's aggression. However, using Russia's sovereign assets may be difficult as they legally belong to the state and there is no mechanism for their confiscation. The Russian elites, proxies, and oligarchs, repo, task force has estimated that there are about $280 billion in frozen Russian sovereign assets. Biden says Hamas attack on Israel aimed at disrupting Israel-Saudi thaw. Al Jazeera. President Joe Biden believes that Hamas carried out its recent attacks on Israel to disrupt a potential diplomatic thaw between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Biden stated that the Saudi government was interested in recognizing Israel and working towards uniting the Middle East. He believes that Hamas was aware of his plans to meet with Saudi officials and carried out the attacks to disrupt the normalization process. Saudi Arabia has expressed concern for the Palestinians in Gaza and has not yet recognized Israel. The Biden administration has been pushing for the normalization of ties between Israel and Saudi Arabia and has seen signs of progress in recent months. However, talks were reportedly paused after the Hamas attacks and the Israeli bombardment of Gaza. And that's a wrap for today's news. We covered a range of topics, from a partial gag order on Trump to the Zozo Championship in Japan, non-travelers hanging out at U.S. airports, rising prices impacting swing state voters, Jesmyn Ward's latest novel, the use of Russian assets for Ukraine's benefit, and Biden's belief that Hamas attacked Israel to disrupt a potential Israel-Saudi thaw. Phew, that's quite a mix. Let's dive into some analysis. First, the partial gag order on Trump raises concerns about his right to defend himself. While it's not unusual for defendants to express their disdain for prosecutors, Trump's comments are being restricted, potentially violating his Fifth Amendment rights. This ruling may face challenges on appeal. In sports, Justin Su is leading the Zozo Championship, a PGA Tour event in Japan. The final day will be an exciting one, with Su closely followed by Eric Cole and Beau Hossler. And in the NHL, the New York Islanders are set to face off against the Buffalo Sabres. Both teams have players listed as day-to-day or out with injuries, so it'll be interesting to see how they perform. Moving on to non-travelers hanging out at U.S. airports, Philadelphia International Airport is reintroducing a program that allows non-travelers into post-security areas. This scheme is being adopted by 5 other airports, giving people an opportunity to experience the airport atmosphere even if they're not traveling. It's an interesting development for those who love airports or just want to hang out in a unique space. On the economic front, American swing state voters are feeling the impact of rising prices for household essentials. A recent poll showed that voters trust Trump more than Biden in handling the cost of everyday goods and services. This could pose a challenge for Biden's re-election campaign, as he tries to make the economy a focal point. In the literary world, Jesmyn Ward has released her latest novel, Let Us Descend, which explores the experiences of enslaved people. Ward faced challenges in writing the book, including how to write from the perspective of someone who had been robbed of physical agency. She also experienced personal tragedy during the writing process but ultimately decided to continue as a way to honor her partner's memory. Turning to international affairs, the leaders of the European Union and the United States have expressed readiness to explore using Russia's sovereign assets to help Ukraine. However, this may be difficult as there is no mechanism for confiscating these assets, which legally belong to the state. And in the Middle East, President Biden believes that Hamas carried out attacks on Israel to disrupt a potential thaw between Israel and Saudi Arabia. This is an interesting development in the ongoing efforts to normalize relations in the region. Well, that's all the news for today. Remember, I want to hear your thoughts and opinions. What do you think about the partial gag order on Trump? Are you following the Zozo Championship or the NHL game? Have you ever hung out at an airport without traveling? Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.